Hello, my name is Eric Ekman, Environmental Resources Supervisor with the City of Golden Valley. And together with Laura Jester, Administrator for the Bassett Creek Watershed Management Commission, we'd like to welcome you to a virtual open house for the Sea-School Wildwood Park Flood Reduction Feasibility Study. This project is the next phase of the Medicine Lake Road, Winnetka Avenue area long-term flood mitigation plan, helping to address flooding concerns around Nicola Ponds D, E, and F. The goal of the project is to create flood storage in the park and on a portion of school property to help reduce flood levels and flood damages to nearby homes and infrastructure around Nicola Ponds, and to improve public health and safety, reduce public liability and cost, and preserve economic value. Additional benefits include improving water quality, increasing ecological diversity, developing wildlife habitat for pollinators like bees and butterflies, creating educational opportunities, and enhancing the active and passive recreation for park users. This engineering feasibility study is being completed in partnership with the Bassett Creek Watershed Management Commission. The Bassett Creek watershed includes parts of 9 cities spread over 40 square miles, encompassing all the land that drains to Bassett Creek. The Commission works with its 9 member cities to implement capital projects that improve water quality in lakes and streams and help reduce flooding. This project is being implemented as part of the Commission's Capital Improvement Program. The City and Commission have partnered to complete over 14 projects throughout the city, including flood mitigation, water quality treatment, lake improvements, and stream restoration. The City and Watershed are working closely with staff from Robbinsdale area schools and the C-School to understand their current use of the park and school property, as well as their future needs. We are also working with the city's Open Space and Recreation Commission and Environmental Commission to gather additional input and feedback along the way. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is also a project partner and recently informed the city that it was awarded a Flood Damage Reduction Program grant to help fund this next phase of the long-term flood mitigation plan. The grant is made possible by an appropriation from the state legislature as part of the 2020 bonding bill. With these partnerships and funding sources in place, there are no special assessments to property owners for the Sea-School Wildwood Park Flood Reduction Project. Before we dive into the details of the engineering study, we want to briefly revisit the history of flooding in the Medicine Lake Road and Nicola Ponds areas to understand why there's a flood reduction project proposed in this area of the city. The Nicola Ponds watershed is more than 1 square mile and includes portions of 3 cities, Crystal, New Hope, and Golden Valley. Although much of the Nicola Ponds area was historically wetland, the wetland areas were reshaped into pond features as part of residential development in the 1960s. Chronic flooding has occurred around the ponds and on Medicine Lake Road, Winnetka Avenue, and other nearby streets since the 1970s. Several flood events caused damage in the area, including storms in 1978, 1987, 2002, 2006, and 2010. Additionally, flooding has occurred in the area during intense rain events in 2013, 2015, 2016, and 2018. These events have resulted in flooded buildings and parking lots, damaged cars, and several feet of water on Medicine Lake Road, making it impassable for emergency vehicles. Water levels on the Nicola Ponds can rise significantly during these intense rain events. During some of the larger storms, the ponds rose several feet, resulting in damages to nearby properties. Before any flood reduction projects were implemented, 39 properties containing 83 households in the Nicola Ponds subwatershed were directly impacted with flood depths up to 6 feet during the 100-year flood event. Although much of the flooding occurs in the city of Golden Valley and at the border with New Hope, the source of the water is the result of runoff from 3 different cities and 2 county roads. The cities of Crystal, New Hope, and Golden Valley, along with Hennepin County, came together to develop a long-term flood mitigation plan that was completed in 2016. The goals of the plan include keeping neighborhoods and communities intact, constructing capital projects to create flood storage and to lower flood levels, improving public health and safety, reducing risk and damage, and preserving economic value. The plan explored all viable options and solutions to reduce flood risk, identified potential projects in the areas around Medicine Lake Road and the Nicola Ponds, and outlined a funding strategy and partnerships to implement projects over time. Although challenging in a fully developed suburban area, the cities identified several project locations with the potential to add conveyance capacity, flood storage, and rate control to help meet the goals of the plan. Some of the projects identified in the plan have already been implemented. The Liberty Crossing Infrastructure Improvement Project was completed by the City of Golden Valley in 2016 in partnership with a private developer. The project provided a public benefit by creating above-ground and below-ground facilities within the development area to store and convey floodwaters and set the groundwork for future projects. In 2016, the City of Crystal added flood storage capacity at Wildwood Park in the upper portion of the Nicola Ponds watershed. The Nicola Ponds B&C Improvement Project, located in the Pennsylvania Woods Nature Area in Golden Valley, was completed in 2020 in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, the Bassett Creek Watershed Management Commission, Hennepin County, and Shelter Corporation, which dedicated an easement to help make the project possible. These projects helped reduce the frequency and depth of flooding on Medicine Lake Road, allowing for safe passage of emergency vehicles during flood events. They also reduced the flooding around several businesses and multifamily residential properties. While these projects are beneficial to the Medicine Lake Road area, more storage is needed downstream closer to the Nicola Ponds area. In the next phase of the long-term flood mitigation plan, the City and Watershed Commission are exploring flood storage opportunities in the sea-school-Wildwood Park area. This phase of the project will start to address the flooding concerns around Nicola Ponds D, E, and F, where approximately 29 homes are identified for a potential flood risk during the 100-year event. 9 of these homes may be at risk of flooding during smaller, more frequent storm events like the 10-year event. For reference, city storm sewer systems below the streets are typically designed for a 10-year storm event. This project includes modifications to the Nicola Pond D outlet pipe, diverts stormwater away from Nicola Ponds E and F, and creates new flood storage in the sea-school-Wildwood Park area. Recognizing the importance of the sea-school and Wildwood Park to the community, and in preparation for this engineering feasibility study, the city conducted a planning level study in 2020 to understand how the community uses and values the properties, the challenges and opportunities, and to gather initial input and feedback from stakeholders. This valuable information helped develop planning level design concepts presented last fall. More information can be found in the Community Input Report and the Planning Study Report located on the city's project webpage. Based on input provided during the planning study, follow-up conversations with stakeholders, and the engineering evaluation this winter, the concepts presented last fall have been further refined and updated. The features in the park that the public values and uses regularly, such as pickleball courts, the playground area, the sliding hill, and the wooded area north of the playground, are being preserved in all 3 concepts. The 3 concepts include an expanded walking trail that will loop around the new stormwater management facilities and connect to the school site. In order to improve safety for pedestrians, bikes, and motorists, all concepts include the realignment of the sea-school driveway at Kelly Drive. In all concepts, the existing street widths are being maintained, and therefore Duluth Street and Kelly Drive are not proposed to be narrowed. Finally, the concepts include vegetation restoration and enhancement, with a combination of turf grass, trees, shrubs, native grasses, and prairie plants in the higher areas, and wetland plants in the lower wet meadow areas, providing a variety of habitat on the property. As you will see, turf grass is being maintained near the playground area and at the intersection of Kelly Drive and Duluth Street for neighborhood gatherings. With all concepts, there may be an opportunity to add additional park features and amenities in the future, such as benches, natural surface trails, interpretive signage, pedestrian bridges, and sun shelters, if desired. All 3 concepts reduce flood risk for homes near Nicola Ponds D, E, and F. On Nicola Pond D, the flood levels are reduced to the point where 10 homes are no longer identified as having potential flood risk during the 100-year storm event. On Nicola Ponds E and F, the flood levels are reduced slightly during the 100-year event and more significantly during the smaller, more frequent events. For example, the number of homes with potential flood risk during the 10-year storm event is reduced by 3 in all concepts. Additional flood risk reduction is planned for homes near Nicola Ponds E&F in the future Isaacson Park Industrial Area phase of the Long-Term Flood Mitigation Plan, programmed for feasibility study in 2025. Now let's explore each of the sea-school Wildwood Park concepts in more detail. Concept 1 creates flood storage using a combination of both above-ground and below-ground methods. This concept will divert storm sewer from Duluth Street into an underground storage system that will provide water quality treatment and flood storage. From the underground system, water will flow into an intermittent stream channel and wet meadow area in the northern portions of the park. The wet meadow area can range from mostly wet to mostly dry, depending on the season and conditions, and will be planted with species that can tolerate both wet and dry periods. Prairie Habitat will be created in the eastern portion of the park and will temporarily flood during larger, less frequent storm events. The turf areas adjacent to the wet meadow will temporarily flood during larger storm events, but under most conditions will remain dry and usable. This concept adds 9.1 acre-feet of flood storage volume and removes an estimated 1.6 pounds of phosphorus each year from downstream lakes and streams. For reference, 1 pound of phosphorus can fuel the growth of 500 pounds of algae. Concept 1 incorporates 1.7 acres of wetland and prairie habitat for pollinators and 1.2 acres of restored turf grass with planting areas containing trees and shrubs. The frequency of flooding within the park determines the type of plantings in each area. A loop trail follows the perimeter of Wildwood Park, providing safety for pedestrians, passive and active recreation, and maintenance access to the stormwater facilities. The estimated cost of Concept 1 is between $3.3 and $5.3 million, including engineering, design, permitting, and construction. Concept 2 creates flood storage using only above-ground methods. This concept includes the creation of a pond in the north and northeastern portions of the park that will provide both water quality treatment and flood storage. The pond's design would include industry-standard safety features commonly used in engineered stormwater ponds. Prairie habitat will be created in the southeastern portion of the park and will only become flooded during larger, less frequent storm events. Similarly, the turf areas created for storage will temporarily flood during larger storm events, but under most conditions will remain dry and usable. This concept adds approximately 8.6 acre-feet of flood storage volume and removes an estimated 1.8 pounds of phosphorus each year. It also incorporates approximately 1.6 acres of wetland and prairie habitat for pollinators, and 1.3 acres of restored turf grass with planting areas containing trees and shrubs. A loop trail follows the perimeter of Wildwood Park, providing safety for pedestrians, passive and active recreation, and maintenance access to the stormwater facilities. A floating platform leading down to the open water can be used for pond and wildlife viewing and educational activities. The estimated cost of Concept 2 is between $2.3 and $3.7 million, including engineering, design, permitting, and construction. Similar to Concept 2, Concept 3 creates flood storage using only above-ground methods. This concept includes an engineered filtration basin in the northwestern portions of the park that will improve water quality by treating stormwater diverted from Duluth Street. Water flowing out of the filtration basin will discharge into a wet meadow system in the northern and eastern portions of the park, providing flood storage during both large and small storm events. Prairie habitat will be created in the southeastern portion of the park and will be temporarily flooded during larger, less frequent storm events. The turf areas adjacent to the wet meadow will temporarily flood during larger storm events, but under most conditions will remain dry and usable. This concept adds approximately 8.5 acre-feet of flood storage volume and removes an estimated 4.1 pounds of phosphorus each year. It also incorporates approximately 2.3 acres of wetland and prairie habitat for pollinators and 0.7 acres of restored turf grass with planting areas containing trees and shrubs. The frequency of flooding within the park determines the type of plantings in each area. Unlike the perimeter trail shown in Concepts 1 and 2, the loop trail in Concept 3 is mostly located inside the park and school property allowing for more interaction with the natural environment while still providing safety for pedestrians, passive and active recreation, and maintenance access to the stormwater facilities. The estimated cost of Concept 3 is between $2.5 and $4 million, including engineering, design, permitting, and construction. Your feedback on these feasibility concepts is important to the Bassett Creek Watershed Commission, the city, and its project partners. Please submit your thoughts and comments after watching this video using the form posted on the city's project webpage. All input and feedback will be considered as the city and watershed staff prepare recommendations on the preferred concepts and features and present the engineering feasibility report to the Watershed Commission in late spring of 2021. Once the report is approved by the Commission and a concept is identified for design, the Commission will hold a public hearing in late summer before officially ordering the project and entering into a cooperative agreement with the city. Project design would begin in fall 2021, with construction anticipated to start in 2022. There will be more opportunities for public engagement as part of the design process this fall. Thank you all for your time and for being part of this important planning process.